Have you ever been at a crossroads and you're not sure what to do with your life? Or you don't know what job to take, you don't know what country to move to, you don't know who to date, you don't know who to marry, you don't know where to go eat? Well, how about this? Have you ever been scrolling through Netflix trying to find the perfect show to watch for half an hour? And in the end, you just decide, I don't even want to watch anything. Like, it's just taking too long. You're too indecisive. You can't make a decision, even on something like Netflix. Well, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today, I was going to say a crazy friend, but a very cool friend, someone I really admire and look up to. Definitely someone who inspires me a lot in how to live. And what she was saying is, she said, we're the generation of not choices. What did she say? It wasn't opportunity, it was the generation. That's it. She said, we're the generation of options. The generation of options, right? What does she mean by that, and where does it come from? Well, she means right now we're living in a time where there's endless choices, and it can feel overwhelming when it comes to actually making choices, and as a result it's very hard. It's like scrolling through Netflix and you're not able, there's so many options, you're not able to select one, right? And what she was saying is she finds it hard to make a decision because she spends so much time thinking about each option and looking at it from all different angles. And as she pointed out, all of her options are good options, but they all have a very big impact on her life and what her life looks like 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, even 30 years down the line. And this got me thinking. It got me thinking about a book that I haven't read, but I've heard of, and I've heard the general principles and concepts inside the book. The book is called The Paradox of Choice. And what it's basically saying is, if you go back to the 1950s or the 1960s, and you're walking through a supermarket, how many different jams do you think they had? Right? They probably had 3 or 4 different options. Well, what happens today if you want to go buy a jam, right? You go to buy a jam, you look in the jam section, the spread section of a supermarket, and there's probably 20 different options of jams. Same with honeys, same with loaves of bread, same with almost everything inside a supermarket. There's never really just one brand selling one product. There's always multiple brands selling the same product. And what this book was saying is, it was comparing the two times. It was saying 50 years ago or 100 years ago, there weren't as many options. And today in 2024, there's endless options, right? And the point the book was trying to make is, they did a study. And in the study, people who went to an ice cream shop and there were only 2 flavors, there was chocolate and strawberry, versus those who went to an ice cream shop and there's 50 flavors or 20 flavors. There's chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, salted caramel, hokey pokey, chocolate mint. There's endless ice cream flavors, or many different ice cream flavors. And what they discovered in this experiment, what they did is people bought ice cream, and then afterwards they assessed their level of satisfaction, right? How much they enjoyed the ice cream. And they found that people who had fewer choices, so those who were choosing between chocolate and strawberry, were more satisfied and happier with their decision over those that went to an ice cream store where there were, say, 20 options. And the reason for this, they discovered, is people who had to make a choice between so many different options, they always wondered, what is the best option? What if I didn't choose the best ice cream flavor, right? And so what the book was trying to make essentially is, fewer options leads to greater levels of happiness, and it actually gives you strategies to overcome the decision-making fatigue you might feel when choosing between so many different options out there. So going back to generation options, one of the things I brought up in the conversation today, I was like, yeah, it's true. Like, we're talking about relationships, and I was like, people want the perfect relationship. If their partner isn't perfect, if their partner does one thing wrong, what do? They're like, I've got options, right? Generation options. You can just simply open up an app like Tinder or Hinge or Bumble or whatever it is, and you've got right in front of you, you've got endless options. You've got thousands of new matches, thousands of new dates, and thousands of new potential partners So if your current partner isn't exactly perfect and does one thing wrong, people feel like, oh, I've got options. They jump around and look for the next perfect partner. Well, the same is true in your career these days, right? Think about it. How long have you been in your job for, your current role? And how long were you at your previous role for? Well, if you go back again to the 1950s or the 1960s, what did people do when they got a job? They usually kept that job, right? It was a career. They kept their job for life. Maybe they switched once or twice in their lifetime, but for the most part, people stuck with one consistent job until they retired, right? From when they graduated college or university all the way to retirement. Whereas these days, what happens when someone gets a job, right? They keep it for 2 years or one to 2 years, and then they hop to the next one, and then they hop to the next one. They keep bouncing around and changing workplaces, changing industries, changing careers, right? They're just moving around because there's so many options. And it's even to the point now, and we were kind of joking about it today, if you stay in a job for more than like 2 years, it's kind of a bit weird, you know? People get this feeling at some point, whether it's at the 1 year mark or 2 year mark or 18-month mark or whenever it is, they get the feeling like, oh, I've been at this place for so long, like, what am I doing with my life? It's time for something new. And as my friend that I was with today pointed out, that if she's not feeling growth in her job, then she's like, well, what am I doing here? And looking for the next opportunity, looking for the next role, not necessarily in a different industry or pursuing a different career, but more so going to a place where there's the knowledge and the growth, right? Where she's going to be learning. So I just thought it was pretty interesting, this whole concept of the paradox of choice and the generation of options. So what does this actually mean for you? Well, it means that, you know, one of the things that is highly correlated with wealth is conscientiousness. Conscientiousness breaks down into 4 sub-facets. One of them is, I don't want to give away the last one, but one of them is organization, right? Being very organized. One of them is diligence, so hard work. One is perfectionism, so not making mistakes. And the last one, which is relevant to generation options, is prudence. And what is prudence? Prudence is decision making. So what you need to do in this day and age where there's countless options is you need to learn how to become a good decision maker. Now, how do you learn to become a good decision maker? Well, there's lots of ways. One of the things you can do is start reading biographies and autobiographies so you can see successful people throughout history, what they did and how they made decisions. You can also seek mentors or people who can help advise you, right? There's a concept, I think it's from Charlie Munger. He says, make war with a multitude of counselors. Make war with a multitude of counselors. And what this means is you want to have a lot of people that are your advisors that you can get opinions of. Like if you think about businesses, businesses have a board of advisors or a board of directors. These are a group of people you can ping ideas off. So who are these people in your life for you? So that's the second way you can make better decisions. And the third way I want to give you to help make better decisions, this comes from Peter Drucker. I don't know the exact what he calls it, but essentially he says, whenever you make a decision, write it down and write down the result you expect to receive or have from that decision, say in 18 months' time. And what you can do is at the end of the 18 months, look back on the decision you made and the result, how that played out in your life, like what results you got from that decision, and compare what actually happened to what you anticipated was going to happen, what you thought was going to happen, what you wrote down. And then you can see how good are you at making decisions, and you can kind of recalibrate yourself to understand, you know, expectations versus reality. So I wanted to leave you with that. The thought of building and improving prudence is definitely not an easy thing to do. There's a book you can read. It's called The Decision Book. Basically, I think it gives you 50 ideas or short frameworks you can use or mental models you can apply to help make decisions. So one of them, for example, which is pretty standard, you probably already know about this, is making a pros and cons list of each. And there's many different other concepts and ideas in that book. So that's called The Decision Book. So I'd like to leave you with that. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know some decisions you need to make right now in the comments below. Like this video, and lastly, subscribe, because we've got some awesome content coming out for you soon. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.